Would Gustavo Fring from Breaking Bad make a better red or yellow lantern? And who's a better pick for a blue ring, Ted Lasso or Jessica Day? Yet again, I'll be explaining the powers and rules of every major lantern corps, and picking 3 ideal candidates for each, all from the world of television and streaming. I'll cover the whole emotional spectrum, plus the white and black cores of life and death. And I really did my best to pull from various different genres like dramas, sitcoms, sci-fi, all of it. So grab your popcorn as I take it from the top of the emotional spectrum, the Red Lanterns of Rage. The Red Lantern Corps burns with the crimson light of anger, their rings forging a blood pact that turns their wielder's blood into corrosive plasma. This stuff can melt through other lanterns' constructs like a hot knife through butter. Red Lanterns are volatile, self-destructive, and consumed by hatred, so much so that removing their ring kills them unless a Blue Lantern's hope intervenes. These guys are rage incarnate, and TV has got no shortage of characters who'd fit the bill. There are a ton of characters who are generally angry or have intense bouts of rage, but my top 3 picks' anger defines them in ways that shred their relationships and reshape their worlds. First up, Gus Fring, the meticulous drug lord from Breaking Bad, is a Chilean restaurateur hiding a ruthless empire in Albuquerque's underbelly. His calm facade masks a volcanic rage, sparked when the Salamanca cartel murdered his partner Max. That hatred fueled a decades-long vendetta to quietly grow his power and influence within the Salamanca Empire, earning their trust and their respect over years and years, all to find a single opportunity to poison them all. Every element of his operation he executed with chilling precision. A Red Lantern ring would fit Gus just like his tailored suits, turning his cold fury into plasma that would dissolve any enemy in his path. And the Blood Pact? Gus has already traded his soul for revenge. Death is just another Tuesday to him. He'd wield the ring with surgical control, unlike most Red Lanterns who lose themselves to chaos. Now, to be clear, I struggled with his placement on this list, as I think he's almost just as well suited to wield a yellow ring's fear, the way he calmly strikes terror into everyone around him, but his drive for revenge is ultimately more personal to him, so rage fits him best. Next up, a character who made sense in Season 1 but really clicked in Season 2. Helly R, the rebellious Innie from Severance, is a corporate drone trapped in the cult company Lumen's severed world, her identity split down the middle by a dystopian mind wipe. As a severed worker, she can only experience life inside the walls of the company, never outside, and can only quit with the permission of her Audi, who, big spoiler warning here, is actually Helena Egan, daughter of Lumen's current president and owner. Helly's entire existence is about rebellion and her rage against Lumen, the Egans, and her Audi. She even resorts to self-harm and, dangling herself to get her point across to her Audi, because her anger at the injustice is far greater than her sense of self-preservation. So you know the ring's death pact wouldn't bother her at all. And the cherry on top, chillingly, at the end of Season 2, her father, Jane Egan, told Helly, the Innie, that she possesses something he's only ever seen before in the founder of Lumen, Kier Egan. What that means is still up in the air, but my guess is it's the burning fire of rage against the world around her. And lastly, a funnier but still very angry entry, Dr. Perry Cox, the acerbic doctor from Scrubs, is a brilliant physician in Sacred Heart Hospital shaped by a very rough childhood and a broken healthcare system. But he's most notable for his razor-sharp tongue, often going on incredible, legendary rants as his face turns redder than the ring he'd be wearing. While normally a comedy, Scrubs can get pretty dramatic, and some of Dr. Cox's most iconic moments are all about his rage, like when he trashed all the machinery in a hospital room after losing several patients all in the same day. His anger, like Red Lantern's, is both a flaw and fuel, driving him to save lives while alienating everyone in his life. He'd wield the ring with biting wit, his constructs tearing into cosmic threats while he lectures them on their own incompetence. The Corps would respect his raw, unfiltered passion, a doctor who'd make even Atrocitus wince as he tears the optimism out of Blue Lantern enemies, probably while calling them girls' names. Moving on from rage to greed, the Orange Lantern Corps isn't a corps at all. It's a one-man show powered by the sickly light of avarice. Greed fuels this ring, twisting its wielder into a paranoid hoarder who wants everything and trusts no one. The Orange Lantern keeps all the rings and the power battery to himself, summoning constructs of past wielders to form a one-man army. This light preys on the greedy, amplifying their obsession to own it all, from wealth to power to the last slice of pizza. When picking these characters, I really tried to zero in on who was the most selfish. It's not about being greedy for a specific thing, but an emotional inclination to want more than you have and put that desire above others. And of course, usually only one person would wield the ring at a time, but I'm still gonna pick 3. Okay, let's dive in. Larry David, the curmudgeonly genius behind Curb Your Enthusiasm, is a semi-fictionalized version of himself, a neurotic, wealthy TV writer navigating life's pettiest battles. Born into a world of social faux pas and endless grudges, Larry's greed isn't really about money because he's already rich. It's usually about control, respect, and being right. Whether he's arguing over a restaurant tip or hoarding credit for his work, Larry's obsession with getting his way screams Orange Lantern energy. That ring would turn his petty grievances into a cosmic crusade, spawning an army of snarky constructs to enforce his ridiculous version of justice. I can picture Larry using orange light constructs to steal every single parking spot in LA. Like, pretty good. And the ring's paranoia would fit him like a glove. He already suspects everyone's out to screw him over, always figuring out his ever-expanding web of lies and bullshit. He'd hoard the power battery like it's his last latte, and God help anyone who tries to borrow it. Larry's greed for social capital would make him a hilariously insufferable Orange Lantern, and I would watch 12 more seasons of it. Next up, with a more typical type of greed, is Ryan Howard from The Office. He starts as a temp at Dunder Mifflin, a slick-talking business school grad with dreams bigger than Scranton, Pennsylvania. His ambition spirals into a toxic hunger for status, transforming him into a corporate sleazeball a few seasons in, somehow managing to fail his way up the Dunder Mifflin corporate ladder for a little while. Ryan's greed is definitely about money, but it's also about clout, power, and being the guy who everybody else envies. He's all about owning the spotlight, no matter who he screws over. An orange ring would amplify this, turning Ryan into a one-man empire with constructs of all of his failed startup bros, doing his bidding. A legion of yes-men pretending that he has Jim's charm or Michael's loyalty or Dwight's work ethic. The ring's paranoia would have him double-checking his constructs for betrayal, probably firing half of them. Ryan's already a walking midlife crisis, so giving him the Orange Lantern's lights, he would be hoarding every promotion, corner office, and text from Kelly Kapoor in the multiverse. Pathetic, but powerful. And finally, my favorite orange pick, Walter White, the chemistry teacher turned drug lord from Breaking Bad. He begins as a desperate family man diagnosed with lung cancer, and then uses the nearing end of his life as an excuse to descend into a monster driven by pride and greed. Honestly, I was torn between Walt and Saul Goodman here. Saul's slimy hustle would have been a great fit too, but Saul just doesn't have Walt's edge, his insane ego. Walt's empire is about money, legacy, control, and proving that he is without a doubt the best. And his greed causes him to betray everyone. Gus, Jesse, even his own family, all for that rush of power. An orange ring would supercharge this, giving Heisenberg an army of constructs to dominate every drug cartel in the cosmos. He's also totally susceptible to the paranoia that the orange light infects you with, so he'd hoard the power battery like it's his last barrel of methylamine, using it to build a galactic empire of fear and respect, ruthlessly slaughtering not only those who get in his way, but anyone who dares put a scratch on his supermassive ego. And speaking of empires of fear, the Yellow Lanterns of the Sinestro Corps wield the sickly light of horror, their rings charged by the ability to terrify others into submission. These aren't just scary folks, they're masters of control, reading your mind to conjure specific constructs of your deepest nightmares. Think Pennywise, but with a power ring. Yellow Lanterns thrive on creating order through dread, and the TV landscape has got some chilling characters who'd make Sinestro proud. Honorable mentions mentions go to Negan from The Walking Dead, but that was a comic before it was ever a TV show, so I'm not counting it. And anyway, my next 3 picks are next level at weaponizing fear. Let's get into it. April Ludgate, the deadpan intern turned administrator from Parks and Recreation, is a sarcastic slacker raised in a world of small-town bureaucracy and relentless optimism. Now, don't let her bored, disinterested vibe fool you. April's got a dark streak that terrifies anyone who crosses her. Her icy stares and morbid humor make all her colleagues tiptoe around her, and she relishes in it. Whether she's threatening to curse Ron's mustache or scaring interns by putting little creatures in their briefcase, April's presence is a quiet menace. This might seem kind of like a silly pick for the Yellow Corps, but April embraces and relishes in fear about as much as a non-criminal character can, and I think she'd seriously thrive with a Sinestro Corps ring. It would amplify her ability to unsettle, spawning constructs of gothic horrors all around her haunted house. She'd use her mind-reading powers to exploit Leslie's fear of failure or Tom's fear of everything. April doesn't need to be a murderer or a supervillain. Her subtle, sardonic cruelty would make her a star Yellow Lantern. But for a more villainous pick, next we have Frank Underwood, the ruthless politician from House of Cards. He claws his way from South Carolina congressman to president through sheer cunning in a world of cutthroat DC politics. And I mean Washington DC, not DC Comics. Yeah, whatever. Frank embodies fear, a southern-drawled predator who manipulates everyone with icy precision. His asides to the audience reveal a man who thrives on making others squirm, from threatening journalists to orchestrating murders. A yellow ring would amplify Frank's psychological warfare, and you know he'd use it to learn people's fears and make small, subtle changes that creep into the back of the minds of his political opponents and eat away at them. I can totally see him monologuing a Green Lantern into submission without having to raise a finger or even use his ring, as he shatters their courage with his words alone. In his own words, "We don't submit to terror, we make the terror." And finally, Raymond Reddington, the suave criminal mastermind from The Blacklist, is a former naval officer turned global fugitive, the world's greatest criminal, navigating a world of spies and black market deals. Red's charm hides a terrifying aura. His reputation alone makes hardened thieves and murderers sweat. He's a walking legend, dismantling empires with a smile and a single, well-placed bullet. A yellow ring would be his ultimate weapon, conjuring constructs of his enemy's darkest fears. Betrayal, exposure, or probably Red himself staring them down. And yes, the humor is not lost on me, Red wielding a yellow ring, but he's just too good of a pick. His ability to read people, already uncanny, would be supercharged, letting him craft nightmares that rival Liz's murky past or Dembe's divided loyalties. Red is a master at weaponizing terror, using fear to bend governments and cartels to his will. I can picture him sipping wine as his ring spawns a construct of a guillotine for some poor traitor, all while quipping about fine dining and the color of the drapes in the room. The Sinestro Corps would eat up his blend of elegance and menace, and he'd probably charm Sinestro into retirement. And to protect us from those who wish to terrorize the galaxy are the Green Lantern Corps. Stationed on the planet Oa, they are the universe's badass peacekeepers, wielding the emerald light of willpower to create constructs limited only by their imagination. These are heroes whose entire ethos is about defeating fear. They steamroll it, pushing through pain, doubt, and impossible odds with sheer determination. Green Lanterns are pretty simple people, and because of that, most protagonists of any action, drama, or similar procedural would probably make a good GL. So if your favorite character isn't in this list, they very likely could be. But these are my picks, so let's dive into the bottomless pool of cosmic grit. Michael Weston, the slick ex-spy from Burn Notice, is a former CIA operative burned by his agency, meaning he was fired and left to fend for himself in Miami's underworld, filled to the brim with criminals and international agents who all have a score to settle with him. His life is a masterclass in creative willpower, turning car batteries into bombs and outsmarting cartels with nothing but duct tape and charm. Weston is always relentless, piecing together his Burn Notice mystery while saving clients from impossible messes. He's been described as a modern MacGyver, and I think that's exactly correct. A green ring would love his ingenuity, letting him craft constructs like spy gadgets on steroids, exploding sedans, or holographic decoys. His will to protect his friends, even when it costs him everything, is peak Green Lantern. Picture him facing down a Yellow Lantern, smirking as he conjures a construct of a tricked-out Mustang to run them down, all while narrating his plan in that cool, calm noir voiceover. Michael Weston's been betrayed, shot, stabbed, choked, burned, buried, and blown up, but he never stops. That's willpower, baby. Next up, Jim Hopper, the gruff, deadbeat sheriff from Stranger Things, is Hawkins' chain-smoking protector, a former big city cop haunted by his daughter's death. In a town crawling with demogorgons and government conspiracies, Hopper is the one who always pushes through the fear and pain to save the day. He drives into the Upside Down, fists flying to save kids he barely knows, and even survives a Russian gulag through sheer stubbornness. Twice. A green ring would turn that grit into old-school tough guy constructs. Think rows of glowing shotguns or a construct of his old police cruiser smashing Mind Flayer minions. His will to protect his adopted daughter Eleven and keep Hawkins safe, even when it means facing literal monsters, makes him a natural fit for the Corps. He's got his trauma, losing Sarah, nearly losing Elle, but that only fuels his resolve. And yeah, he's kind of a dick, but that's true of almost every good Green Lantern. And speaking of kind of a dick, Dr. Gregory House, the misanthropic genius from House MD, is a diagnostician with a cane, a Vicodin addiction, and a brain sharper than a scalpel. He's like if Guy Gardner had a medical degree. Cocky, abrasive, very, very easy to hate, but completely unstoppable. You might think an addict isn't a great pick for a ring fueled by willpower, but House is kind of a special case. He's gotten sober several times, but his addiction isn't rooted in a desire to stop. Quite the opposite. He's decided he wants to live this way and deals with incredible, impossible obstacles every day just so he can keep it up. He has such a stupid stubbornness. He even performed surgery on himself with no major anesthetic, sitting in his bathtub and opening up his leg to remove multiple tumors. That is a bonkers level of willpower, all for his Vicodin. But it comes from his refusal to let puzzles go unsolved, even when patients are dying and his own body is falling apart. He'll break laws, alienate friends, and risk his life to crack a case, all while sneering at the world. His chronic pain and personal demons, lost love, that addiction like I talked about, they only sharpen that resolve. And if he did join the Corps, he'd probably piss off Hal Jordan in 5 seconds flat. But they would have to respect his hustle. House with a ring is a cosmic problem solver you just couldn't mess with. And next up, shining brightly behind the green light of will, the Blue Lantern Corps wields the radiant light of hope, the most powerful yet passive of the emotional spectrum. These rings can heal others, neutralize Red Lantern's rage, and supercharge Green Lantern's willpower, but without a green ring nearby, they're limited to defense and flight, no offense. Hope needs will to act, making Blue Lanterns the ultimate support class, spreading optimism and inspiring others to keep fighting. Good Blue Lanterns are beacons of hope who lift up everyone around them, even in the darkest moments. They need to both be hopeful and also inspire hope in others. Before we get to my picks, I have to give honorable mentions to Jessica Day from New Girl and Troy Barnes from Community, both radiant rays of optimism, but my next three are better hope machines. Up top, Ted Lasso, the ever-optimistic football coach from Ted Lasso, is an American fish out of water dropped into England's cynical soccer world. Armed with nothing but a mustache and relentless positivity, he transforms AFC Richmond's toxic locker room into a real-feeling family. Ted's hope is a choice, forged through personal pain and the darkness of his divorce and the panic attacks that plague him. A blue ring would glow like a supernova on him, healing his players' doubts in themselves and others, and boosting them to push harder with his believe mantra. And a lot like how a Blue Lantern can deactivate a Red Lantern's ring, Ted has an almost supernatural ability to cut through the ego and spite of others with kindness and hopeful optimism. Pure Blue Lantern magic. Ted's the guy who'd high-five St. Walker and make the Blue Corps feel like a potluck. Moving on, we have Leslie Knope, the whirlwind bureaucrat from Parks and Recreation. Leslie is Pawnee's deputy director of Parks and Recreation, born in a town of total apathy and raccoon infestations. Her boundless enthusiasm for public service in a tiny municipality is hope incarnate. She sees potential in every pothole and rundown lot. Leslie's optimism turns a pit into a park and an uncaring town into a community, even when faced with budget cuts or snobby interference from sister town Eagleton. A blue ring would amplify her infectious energy, conjuring glowing binders of dreams that multiply her workload by 1,000. Leslie's been knocked down by failed political campaigns, betrayals, or just Ron's grumpiness, but she always rises, believing in people more than they believe in themselves. And lastly, I chose Kimmy Schmidt, the titular hero of The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. As a survivor of a doomsday cult trapped by a crazed reverend underground for decades, she emerges from that bunker straight into the chaos of New York City. Her bubblegum bright outlook defies a whole lifetime of trauma. Kimmy's hope is a superpower. She always turns grim situations, like her many dead-end jobs or Titus's insane drama, into opportunities for joy. Kimmy is essentially stuck in a state of arrested development, constantly filled with childlike hope and optimism, often to a comically ridiculous degree, which is why she would make an incredible Blue Lantern. Kimmy's hope would make even the gloomiest Corps member believe life is a candy-colored adventure, ready to take on any cosmic threat with a grin. Yo, are you enjoying this video? You might not know, but this is actually part of a gigantic series where I pick prime candidates from all different realms to fit the various rings of the Lantern Corps. I've done anime, movies, cartoons, mythology, even real-world historical figures. You can see all of those videos in this playlist, also linked in the description, so definitely check it out if you're interested. Oh, and like and comment, subscribe and stuff. I got bills to pay, man. All right, back to it. Now, the Indigo tribe is the weirdest bunch in the Lantern lineup, wielding the light of compassion in a way that's less hugs and rainbows and more forced rehab for monsters. These rings do not seek out saints, they hunt the universe's worst psychopaths, brainwashing them with empathy to serve the greater good. Indigo Lanterns can teleport across galaxies and mimic other rings' powers when they're nearby, turning soulless killers into cosmic caretakers with a wide array of powers. When picking these characters, we want those who are just about as devoid of compassion as possible, real psychopaths. Let's get into it. Arthur Mitchell, aka the Trinity Killer from Dexter, is a seemingly pious family man hiding a dark secret. He is a serial killer who's been slaughtering for decades in a ritualistic cycle. Raised in a fractured home, Arthur is a master manipulator, charming communities while leaving a trail of bodies everywhere he goes. He runs a charity that builds homes for the disenfranchised, secretly dropping his victims in the concrete foundation he pours at each location. Now, you could make an argument that as a serial killer, he would be more fit for the Black Ring, but we'll get to those soon. The unique thing about Arthur is we get to see what he's like when he's not killing. His family, wife, son, and daughter, exist dually as a way to keep up appearances as a kind family man, and to recreate the twisted fantasy in his head of his own family, who all tragically died when he was young. He's relentlessly cruel to them, locking his daughter in her room, brutally berating his wife, and even breaking his son's fingers. He is pure malice. He's not just about death. And he's a perfect pick for the tribe to rehabilitate into a mindless zombie dedicated to kindness. Next up, we have Ben Linus, the enigmatic mastermind from Lost, who starts out as a manipulative other on the island, raised in the abusive shadow of the Dharma Initiative. His life is a web of lies, kidnapping, murder, and betrayal, all to control the island's secrets. Ben's empathy is buried deep, deep down, if it exists at all. He sacrifices friends, family, even his own daughter without blinking. The Indigo Ring would zero in on his cold heart, forcing compassion into a man who'd rather die than feel anything. His cunning would make him a strategic Indigo, a lot like Frank Underwood would be with a Yellow Ring, but his manipulative genius would be redirected to save lives instead of controlling them. The Ring's empathy would hit hard, Ben feeling Juliet's love or Locke's pain, and it would break him. I can see him saving the survivors with a glowing staff, muttering about how it's for the island as he grapples with his guilt. And finally, Dennis Reynolds, the narcissistic co-owner of Patty's Pub from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. He is a self-proclaimed golden god, raised in a dysfunctional family of perpetual schemers. His sociopathic charm hides a chilling lack of empathy. He manipulates his friends, stalks women, and keeps a creepy system for seduction. It's all about the implication, man. It's all about the implication. Dennis is one of the most self-obsessed people on TV, and his cold-blooded nature screams Indigo candidate. The ring would hunt him down like a heat-seeking missile, locking onto him the moment he screams, "Idiots! Savages! Idiots!" Dennis as an Indigo Lantern would be a cosmic joke, his smug grin fading as he's forced to care about someone other than himself for the first time since his birth, maybe even earlier. He'd probably try to manipulate the tribe itself, only to find his new compassion betraying him at every turn. The universe, or at least South Philly, would be a safer place, but Dennis would be miserable. And at the end of the emotional spectrum is the Violet Lantern Corps, also known as the Star Sapphires. They wield the radiant purple light of love, messy, intense, and all-consuming. These rings don't care if your love is pure, obsessive, or straight up toxic. They just want you to feel it so hard that it drowns out everything else. Star Sapphires create crystalline constructs to trap or protect their beloveds, and their power grows stronger when more sapphires are nearby. Because love is better when it's shared. When picking sapphires, I wanted characters that were not only obsessed with love, but often driven by it to make reckless decisions. Some sapphires have healthy romantic or familial love, but many are manipulative and consuming in their obsession. Also, I tried my best to find men that fit the violet light just as much as women, because the Corps does technically accept both. Okay, first we have Schmidt, the flamboyant loft dweller from New Girl. Schmidt is a former frat bro turned marketing guru, navigating LA life while battling his countless neuroses. His love for his wife Cece is the stuff of legend, over the top, obsessive, and hilariously extra. From planning grand gestures to writing her name in sky letters, or that one time he couldn't see her, so he became transfixed with a lionfish that reminded him of her. Schmidt's heart is all in, even when it's completely insane. Before they were married, Schmidt's biggest blunder was accidentally dating both Cece and his college sweetheart Elizabeth at the same time, and then just keeping it up for weeks because he was so fully in love with both of them. It did explode in his face, as he deserved, but that's the character. He just can't control this one particular emotion. Even fraternally, Schmidt is completely obsessed with his longtime friend and roommate Nick, often to a very creepy degree. He is a shoo-in Star Sapphire, although he'd probably request a ring made of tungsten, because it's the most baller metal. Next up, probably a more conventional pick, Meredith Grey, the resilient surgeon from Grey's Anatomy. She's a doctor forged in the trauma of Seattle Grace Hospital, raised by a cold mother and a very messy life. Her love for Derek Shepard and later her kids and found family defines her character over and over and over again. The show is basically a giant revolving door of endless tragedies, because that's how soap operas work. Nevertheless, Meredith's love is raw, enduring heartbreak, loss, and near-death experiences, yet she keeps opening her heart again after each one. Her devotion to love is the ideal substance for a violet ring to latch onto, conjuring crystalline scalpels or glowing hospital beds to protect her loved ones. When Derek dies, her love for him fuels her survival. Love that transcends even death is some of the strongest there is. The Corps would see her as a warrior of love, unbroken by loss. And finally, Don Draper, the enigmatic ad man from Mad Men, is a 1960s creative genius hiding a stolen identity in a broken past. Originally born Dick Whitman, he reinvents himself, but his love for women, his kids, even his idealized self is a chaotic force that drives his life in circles. Don's affairs with Betty, Megan, and all the others are obsessive and often destructive, fueled with the intensity of a man who loves like crazy, with no idea where to focus it. A violet ring would thrive on his conflicted passion. His love for his children, especially Sally, does ground him, but his toxic need for control, think chasing Midge or Rachel, that fits the Sapphire's darker side. At the end of the day, Draper is always trying to fill a hole inside, and his drug of choice is love. The core would embrace his flawed devotion, turning his brooding intensity into cosmic power. He'd probably pitch the ring a better tagline before wielding it like a lovesick god. Now, at the end of the emotional spectrum, light fades into darkness. The Black Lanterns are the Grim Reapers of the Lantern Corps, powered by the absence of all light. Pure, unyielding death. These rings are a cosmic zombie virus, latching onto the dead or those who've brushed with death, turning them into undead harbingers who spread darkness. They mimic the other rings' powers, cast shadows that snuff out emotional light, and feast on the living to grow their army. This core is traditionally for characters that have literally died, but just as Necron chose the Black Hand to lead his Lantern armies because of his obsession with death, that's the same criteria I'm using to pick these lanterns. Let's step into the void. First up, Michael Langdon, the Antichrist from American Horror Story Apocalypse, is the spawn of a human and a ghost, raised by witches in a world of occult chaos to bring about the apocalypse. He was literally born to end life, wielding demonic powers to slaughter and manipulate, and even brings about a world-ending nuclear hellscape. He was killing animals and even other people as a child. There really isn't a better fit. A black ring would be drawn to Michael like a moth to a flame. He's already died and returned, making him prime undead material, and his connection to death is like cosmic. He's destined to end the world, and a black ring would just make it intergalactic. Michael is the apocalypse in human form, ready to paint the whole universe black. Next, C.G.B. Spender, also known as the Cigarette Smoking Man from the X-Files. He's a shadowy conspirator pulling strings in a world of alien cover-ups and government plots. A chain-smoking puppet master, he's orchestrated abductions, murders, and global schemes without a shred of remorse. He's tied to the deaths of JFK, MLK, and likely far more, and Spender's died and come back more times than most comic characters, obviously making him a black ring magnet. He spends most of the series acting like an omen of ill fortune, and sacrifices human lives habitually to further his mysterious goals. He'd manipulate the undead just like he did the Syndicate, building a cosmic conspiracy of death. I can just hear him facing a Green Lantern. The truth is out there, but you won't live to find it. The core would revel in his cold, calculated destruction, a perfect emissary of the void. And finally, perhaps my favorite pick for a Black Lantern ever, Dexter Morgan, the blood splatter analyst from Dexter, is a serial killer with a twisted code. He only kills other killers. Raised by a cop to channel his urges into taking down other predators, he's danced with death his whole life, both dealing it out and cheating it. He often describes himself as born in blood, his psychopathic urges originating when he saw his mother brutally murdered by criminals as a toddler. He has a dark passenger, the embodiment of his unending urges to end the lives of others, which he tries to channel into doing good. And Dexter has died. He was shot in the heart and barely survived, meaning he meets Necron's requirements to wield a black ring. But what makes Dexter such a cool pick is, I think he would embrace a black ring and try to use it for good, just like he does as the Bay Harbor Butcher, only taking out villains or other Black Lanterns, his code evolving to carry him across the stars to dole out justice, all while feeding his dark urges. Whether or not Dexter would actually be able to resist the zombification of a black ring is definitely up in the air, but luckily, there's someone else who can stop the Black Plague of Death from wiping out the universe. The White Lantern Corps is the pinnacle of the emotional spectrum, wielding the blazing light of life itself. A fusion of every color: rage, greed, fear, will, hope, compassion, and love. These rings are rare, granted to those who master the full spectrum of emotions, or embody life's unending zeal. White Lanterns can obliterate Black Lanterns, raise the dead and heal the sick and injured, and harness every other ring's power, plus the life equation, a cosmic cheat code to rewrite reality on a multiversal scale. My three picks live for creation, freedom, and joy. They're champions of existence who tackle life with unending excitement and a holistic emotional outlook. Let's close out the spectrum with a bang. I mentioned him earlier as a candidate for blue, but honestly, Troy Barnes would make an incredible White Lantern. The lovable jock-turned-nerd from Community, he starts as a high school quarterback at Greendale Community College, navigating a world of study groups and paintball wars. He undergoes this journey from ego to empathy that's almost immediate. Troy will embrace every emotion wholeheartedly. He jumps from rage to love to fear to hope in an instant. He's definitely not the brightest, but he's a pure soul. He alone is the truest repairman, the mythical greatest air conditioning repairman who ever lived, or at least attended the Greendale Community College's air conditioning repair annex. The truest repairman will repair man, and Troy does just that. He's the glue that holds the study group together. And the show went to complete shit when he left. But he left to sail around the world and discover himself, mimicking a White Lantern's journey of emotional discovery. I think he would wield the ring with pride, flying around space with Abed on his back, singing Troy and Abed in the cosmos. Next up, Michael, the quirky demon-turned-architect from The Good Place, begins as a hellish bureaucrat designing torture in the afterlife, only to slowly evolve into a kind, caring, empathetic being through thousands of years of failure and torment, and frozen yogurt. His arc is a masterclass in the emotional spectrum. Rage at his old system, hope for redemption, love for his human friends, and will to defy the judge and the entire afterlife system because he believes things can be better. With the help of 4 human idiots, he revolutionized eternity, and his reward at the end of it all was his single greatest desire: to live a normal life as a human being. Get that, a cosmic entity, essentially a lesser god, who wants nothing more than to live a normal life. That is the purest essence of what a White Lantern is all about. And finally, we have the Doctor, the time-traveling Time Lord from Doctor Who. A centuries-old alien wanderer in a TARDIS, time and relative dimension and space, he meanders about the stars, saving entire worlds from monsters like the Daleks or Cybermen. As a Time Lord, he experiences regeneration. When he dies, his body is supercharged with energy, and his biology is rewritten with a new face and a new personality. He's literally lived more life than anyone ever could. He's thousands of years old, and he's experienced life at every time, in every place, as dozens of different people. And each incarnation is defined by the hallmarks of a White Lantern, brimming with every emotion: rage against injustice, hope for peace, and love for his traveling companions. The Doctor has a resounding zeal for life, exploring every corner of existence, constantly inspired by life forms far less complex or important in the grand scheme of reality than him. But he could never care about something like that. To the Doctor, even the simplest, most mundane life is inherently beautiful, purely because it is alive. The Doctor is the ultimate champion of life, turning every adventure into a cosmic ode to existence itself. Stay frosty.